The next matter we have is, we don't have a county manager's report tonight. We do have, we're proceeding under new business. We will be having a public hearing on this. We're going to have some discussion among the commissioners first. And we'll start off with Dr. Green talking about the Pack Place funding recommendations. If you'll remember at our last meeting, Dr. Green came to us and asked for some further instruction and direction on where we're going to go with this. And this is a follow-up to that, and we're looking forward to your recommendations and discussion of this very important matter. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, at the last TDA Product Development Fund meeting, they postponed their decision about art museum funding. And one of their questions was, what's going to happen with county funding? We don't want it to be an obstacle to that and want them to be able to make a decision when they go back in September. So 2 or 3 things we want to do tonight. We want to provide you some history on the investment that city and county made in the facility. We want to provide you some information on the leases and some of the key points from those leases. And then I want to share with you some information about the funding and some recommendations for you to consider. We're going to start with Donna Clark, who will share the information on the investments, and she will hand that off to Bob Deutsch, and he will talk about the details of the lease, and then I'll take it back.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have just a one-page PowerPoint that summarizes the investment of the county and the city since 1988. So Judy, if you'll bring up that PowerPoint, please. So you can see we went back to 1988 and estimated the investment of the county as well as the city. And since that time, the county has invested over $9.5 million. The city has invested a little over $7.1 million. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Most of the city's investment was for debt for the facility. It was principal and interest paid over time, and that was paid off in 2008. And since then, they have replaced a chiller, which you can see in 2011.
So since 2008, there's been one payment of $284,000 under this partnership that we've had with the city.
That's correct, and that was for a chiller for the facility.
I believe that was then Councilman Russell, and I don't know, right, who got the chiller? On the board or not? No?
I still want to.
Okay.
I was on your team.
Our team, that's right. So what was the partnership was approximately equal monies between the city and county for these facilities?
I think our attorney's ready to address that partnership. So I'll turn that over to him.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the best of my knowledge, there was no formal partnership. However, I think there was an understanding in between the city and the county that they would each contribute approximately equal amount of money. So, to the best of my ability, I have not been able to locate any document showing any kind of formal partnership. And you want me to keep going on the leases?
Okay, any questions, let's divide up, any questions about the history at this point from any members of the board?
Well, looking, can you put that back up?
Yes, sir.
Chart, please.
The way I'd like to break it up, start with the board.
Well, anyway, on that chart, it shows from.
Let me break it up. We'll do the history first, then we'll talk about the leases, then we'll talk about it generally, then we'll hear from the public. That's all right. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
If it's up there, when I was looking at 2008 until, now, from 98 to 2008, the numbers, are pretty close between both entities. Actually less than $100,000. In 2009, we're 475, they're zero. We're 441, they're zero. We're 400 something, they're 284, and then they're 000. So we're $2.5 more million invested in the county. So, city takes it back over. So it looked like a partnership for a number of years there, then it just seemed like it blew up.
Well, I just have a little bit of a different take on that. I mean, I think for years, the city was paying the debt service on these bonds, right? And they got paid off. And so that was kind of the role the city was playing, was paying this debt service, and then the debt service stopped, you don't have to pay more on it. So, I mean, I mean, we talk more about history, we can do that. I mean, I think the general nature of the relationship going forward, as I've kind of heard different folks talk about it, is, the county has traditionally played this role in terms of supporting the operating costs at Pack Place. We've been doing that, and I think we're going to talk more about how we're going to do that in this year and going forward. And with the new lease arrangements, both the tenants and the city are going to be responsible for the long-term capital maintenance of that public asset. So there's sort of an operational role, and then there's sort of a taking care of the building long-term role. And those are sort of logical distinctions and roles I think the two primary public partners to them have played and can play. So that's sort of my take on sort of the broad roles that we've been involved in the past, and and could also continue going forward. So. And also those amounts, understanding there's a distinction between the different partner groups and Pack Place as a whole, but both the county and the city have also made substantial capital commitments to the overall building, as well as part of the art museum project. And the county, of course, we've committed hundreds of thousands of dollars to that, and was happy to support that. And I believe the city committed $2 million additional dollars to that project as well. So
For the art museum.
for the art museum project located as part of this campus. So there's significant additional investments that weren't reflected there. And to their credit, the city has really made a very substantial contribution towards the future renovations of that part of the property.
I think there are times that we can look at history and relationships and learn from them and go forward. And as a member of the CRA, what I learned was that some of the agreements or non-agreements among the entities weren't really very sustainable. The one that sticks in my mind the most is apparently it was an agreement among all the entities. If one group is fundraising, the other ones are not allowed to. And I would just hope going forward that more agreement can be made and more cohesion with all the entities, so that we don't get tripped up and we're back here at the same time with this. It's a great time to look at history, learn from it, not repeat the same errors, and go forward in a much more sustainable way that for these wonderful, wonderful groups, they can carry on and don't have this big burden on their back, wondering what tomorrow's going to bring.
All right, any other questions about the history? Again, before we get to the current situation, and then we take public comment. Okay, well, one thing I would say, the way I understood it, and again, I had Mayor Michael up here, he was in the middle of it when it was going on. The whole idea, as I understood it, was that we were going to help the nonprofits out. And it was a chance, they needed the help financially, and this was kind of an equal obligation that the city and county leaders at the time took on. The city took title. It could have been the county took title. The city took title. It paid off the debt. But the debt has been paid off now, and we have a somewhat equal obligation. In recent years, it's not been equal. It's been very much, but again, the idea is not necessarily competition with the city as much as to take care of the nonprofits. And that's what at the end of the day, that's kind of what I think we should keep our eye on, is what's best for the nonprofits, to make sure that they do not suffer in any partnership dissolution. Because I think whether it was a written partnership or not, there was an agreement that we would put equal money to help the nonprofits out. So that's always been my focus. And who owns the building? Frankly, the county rarely cares who owns property. It's more about what are we doing to help our goals out. And I think that the city has assumed ownership, as they're entitled to. They have the deed, and we're going to respond to that. And part of the response is going to be, at least my response can be based on what's best for the nonprofits, because I think that's what the original intent was. So, any other comments before we go to the current situation, including the leases that have been entered into? Okay, Mr. Brooks?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let me first say that over the years, Carol Deutsch and I have been big supporters of all organizations within this, the facility. Can you not hear me, Mike? Okay. I was just saying that over the years, Carol and I have been big supporters, financial and otherwise, of all the organizations, and I've actually done legal work for a bunch of them, and I've been on a bunch of the boards. I haven't been on anything specific for about 10 years. So I was asked to analyze the terms of the present leases. And, just as a lawyer, look at the leases, tell them what they say, and I have provided you with this written report dated August 13th. And I'm going to just go over that generally, and then I'll be certainly willing to answer whatever questions that somebody might have. So the big difference now is the city owns the building, but they are going to be leasing directly to the Asheville Art Museum, Diana Wortham Theater, and also Coburn Earth Science Museum. And I just have it hot off the press. I just got an email just a minute ago that the Art Museum and the theater still have not signed the direct leases. And I don't know what the issues are, but I have seen the latest drafts, and the document that I sent you on August 13th was a summary of the leases that was presented to the City Council for approval. So I'm assuming that's the latest. And the biggest thing in there that I see, just to summarize, is that you now have kind of a sinking fund which the tenants are obligated to contribute to for capital maintenance. For the Art Museum, the payments are suspended for 3 years during their improvement process. But the Art Museum, the payment on an annual basis goes from $21,000 up to $38,000. For the theater, it goes from $15,000 up to $27,000.
Is it any of that deferred?
For the theater, no. I don't believe so. So if y'all remember the lease that was made to Pack Place, which was kind of an umbrella entity comprising all the organizations in there, that ended at a certain point this year. I think it was like May 31st or June the 30th, something like that. And there were allegations that the umbrella group did not carry out its obligations under the lease. They were in default under the lease because they had not done capital maintenance. So after that, there were a lot of discussions and negotiations, but the essence of it is they ended up with the direct lease. The Art Museum's going to have the upstairs. The theater's going to have the downstairs. After Coburn moves out, I think they're moving out next summer, the theater will have the whole downstairs. So you basically have two facilities, and they're each responsible for their own maintenance, but there's also common areas that they're jointly responsible for. Neither one of them has to pay any rent, as I understand it, actual rent payments. So I'm sure that the city attorney Fred Barber told me that the city considers the fact that they're not charging rent to be part of their contribution toward the facility. Other than that, they are long-term direct leases. They're each 30 years, and they each have two 10-year renewal options, so they could be in there 50 years each under this document. And the art museum has some special obligations having to do with the fact that they're going to be upfitting their facility, going through a pretty costly renovation. They have some obligations having to do with dividing the building and also complying with fire code. They have to build an elevator, etc. Things like that. These are all listed in the summary that I gave you. They also have to fund the relocation of the historic exhibit that's in the lobby. That's up to $25,000. And the art museum has to pay the theater $47,000 for the theater relocating its offices and its box office. So those have all been negotiated in between everybody. I think one of the issues that I'm not 100% clear about is if this umbrella group will be there for the long term to manage the building or to do some portion of the management. But I think that has been the case in the past. Over the years, I was on the initial Pack Place board, I think back in 1980 something, whatever it was, many years ago. And the concept there was that there were these 5 tenants, and there was going to be synergy between having them all in there together with respect to programming and other things. And the Health Adventure moved out. We all know what happened with that. The Art Museum wanted to and needed to expand to carry out its mission. The theater has been very, very successful, and they want a larger space, so they're going to move over just a little bit. And they now have these direct leases. So I think that will conclude my summary. I'll be happy to answer anybody's question.
So your understanding of the current arrangement is that the city will not be directly contributing, but providing free rent for the tenants of the building as part of their contribution.
Well, yes, and the city will be paying for part of the capital maintenance.
Okay.
As I understand it, the amounts that are identified as the required contributions from the partners, when you look at the whole life cycle of a public facility like this, I think it's great that there will be taking some responsibility for that, but that the long-term estimated maintenance costs for the public facility are significantly greater than this. So this represents a fairly an important, but I believe a minority percentage of the long-term estimated maintenance costs for the facility, so that the majority of the long-term capital maintenance costs for this facility will be directly coming from the city.
So with this arrangement, does the city sublimate the role of Pack Place for them? Does the city take that place?
I think so in terms of the maintenance. I also think that the umbrella group used to do maybe some joint programming or some joint fundraising or some joint consultation among the partners, and I'm not certain that the city's going to be doing that. I would agree with what Commissioner Newman said about the city will be contributing substantial funds for long-term capital maintenance.
I thought I saw in the paper where the city, that like Diane Wortham and them, it's like they're, for as maintenance, they're contributing to the city like $139,000, maybe my numbers are totally off. Both of them are contributing to the upkeep of the properties. They may get the rent free, but they're actually putting money back into it.
I think that if you add up the amount that's on Exhibit C in the lease for what the organization or the tenant is required to pay into the reserve fund. I think it's approximately that amount.
So money is going into a sinking fund for the Art Museum and Diane Wortham, right?
Yes, but the art museum does not have to pay for 3 years while they're upfitting.
Okay.
And I'm not
so-
sure if they're going to be adding that on at the end of that time, or if they're just relieved from that obligation. It's not 100% clear from the lease.
Okay, so the city takes over those buildings, assuming the landlord position, having leases. And so if there's additional funds, then it stands to reason, that if that sinking fund is not enough, because that's just an estimate, if that sinking fund is not enough, then the city would be called upon to do X, Y, or Z for that.
Yes.
that
And
building.
that is the likely scenario if you kind of look at the extent of the building and the age of the building and the needs of the building, and you do the math, the city will be responsible to take care of that very public, very important asset, and absolutely must do that. But that's how that will roll out in the future. Nobody knows when, we don't know when, and sometimes you can plan, sometimes you can't, so.
So the lease is, in a way, making everybody have more of an active role in that property, would you say?
Yes, and also, it's something I did not, yes, and also something that I did not tell you, that I want to, is that the lease provides that the funding of the capital maintenance sinking fund will be reevaluated every 5 years. So they have to renegotiate it, I think, either based on experience or, some evaluation of the building or some kind of maintenance plan. It says based on the conditions existing at the time of the reevaluation.
Is there any cap on that,
On the,
on the renovations that can be, the additional renovation cost to these two tenants that can be every 5 years? Is there any cap that we're not going to go above a certain amount because it might crush you?
no, it just says that if they do not change it, that the funding levels stay as for the first 5 years. The other thing is that there's an arbitration provision in there if they're not able to agree. So they have to have an arbitration. Also, another thing that I overlooked before, I'm sorry, is that there is a provision that Asheville Art Museum shall timely pay its share of all taxes with respect to the premises. And I'm not certain what, if any, taxes will be applicable to this facility since it's owned by the city. There might be sales tax having to do with the gift shop, or there might be some kind of, that if some sort of private business is in there occupying part of the space. I'm not certain exactly what that means.
Would there be a property tax? Presumably.
I don't believe there'll be any property taxes.
All righty. Any other questions about the current situation? Any comments before we're going to take some, not a public hearing, but we're going to take some public comment? Not great? Okay, thank you.
Okay, if you're ready to talk about the funding for a minute, Judy, if you could put up the PowerPoint. I want to just give you a little bit of history and where we are and how things have come to be in fiscal year 2015. The PAC place, when you add the utilities to it, submitted a request for $428,000 worth of funding, and that went to the CRA. And CRA approved $409,076. Out of the $409,000, YMI is also a partner in this organization. So since there were so many changes taking place in PAC Place proper, we segregated the YMI funding, and it's to pay for their insurance and janitorial, which is something that has been paid for with this funding source for a while. So that left $390,000 for PAC Place proper, which includes the Art Museum, Diana Wortham, and Colburn. And when we look at how that breaks down, the utilities at this point in time are still in Buncombe County's name, have been for a number of years. And we estimate those at about $185,000. We always, if we have savings on those, we do pass the savings along to Pack Place for their operation. So when you extract that amount, it left $205,000 to work with for the rest of their request. There are several recommendations that I hope you will consider. One is, it is time for someone to take the utilities into their name, whether that's the city or one of the partners, and we need someone to tell us through that partnership who that will be, and we'd like to have those changed into that organization's name on January the 1st, and whatever money is left in the 185, we will of course provide to that organization to pay those utilities. So that's one of the things that we need to have happen as we go through this process. It was a couple of things happened in the March timeframe when we were putting the budgets together, especially working at CRA. The maintenance, operation, and insurance portion of the budget, I received a document that I thought was inclusive of all of the common space and what it would take to maintain and operate those. But it was very intense at that period of time, and I misunderstood that was the amount. So when I went back and looked at the Pack Place request, the request for maintenance, operations, and insurance is $180,969. So my suggestion to you is that we need to land closer to that number for them to be able to make it through the year. My second recommendation is that we distribute this money to the partners, the Art Museum, Diana Wortham, and Colbert. And we do it based on the percentage of occupancy in the building, which is 55% for the Art Museum, 10% for Colbert, and 35% for Diana Wortham. I think it accomplishes a couple of things. One is they all have some skin in the game at that point in time, and they really are now the managers of that building. I mean, they're the tenants. They need to manage how they see maintenance, operations, everything going forward. So whatever amount that you agree upon, I really am recommending to you that we distribute it in that format. I did receive a great letter from them today. I think you did too. I mean, they're very willing to work together. It was a very nice letter. And then the other part that I'm not recommending for the entire year, when you look at the balance of the budget they submitted for facility maintenance, it's about $3,925 a month. The management of the facility now really feels to me like it belongs to the partners, not an oversight or umbrella board. I do know that they've incurred expenses for a couple of months, and I would like to ask that you help me request from them they provide us a detailed invoice for those expenses for the last 2 months, and then that we cease our payment on that portion of the request. What that does for us is it gives us an overall savings of $16,257, and I would just ask that you set that aside as a reserve in case you see a need for it as the year continues. But overall, between the savings and the reduction in what we provided them from their request, it's about a $35,000 difference, what they wanted and what they will get from one period to the other. There's many pieces in all of this. A recommendation on changing the power, a recommendation on how we would distribute the funds, and then the big decision that how much will we provide them. And I think we back this up. Sorry, it's actually showing on this side. It'll come on this side in just a second, I hope, so you can see it. I do think they need the $180,000 in order to transition through the year. I think it's a big time. I think a lot's been going on. It is what they requested. It just does not fund facility management. It funds maintenance, operations, and insurance. I'm happy to answer any questions. We've been through these numbers a lot of different ways. We've looked at them, talked with the partners, had a lot of feedback in the last couple of days. So I can answer any questions that you have about any of the information that we brought to you tonight.
I think probably since last January, Pack Place, I don't know that there's not been a day that Pack Place has not come to my mind. And it was very mixed emotions, because a lot of people created this wonderful, wonderful entity and created it to be where we are now. But I think it would be the best move going forward is to, I'd like to make a motion to fund $180,969 and disperse it in that ratio that you had suggested, and to add to that to change utilities.
Okay, so your motion, let me make sure we have this. Your motion is to take the amount that Cultural Recreation, the CR Authority recommended, and pull out the management fee
Yes.
of 39, right at 48,000 a year, something like that.
And I am recommending that we pay the July and August portion of that, because they've already incurred those expenses.
Okay, pay for what's already been incurred, and then go with the rest of it and disperse it to the parties other than the utilities, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So we're dealing with three different things here. So what does this cover? So we're dealing with power, we're dealing with distribution of funds, and then we're dealing with how we provide in the future. So is this dealing with the first two? This
I
motion?
think that deals with all the motions that we need, to change utilities, to set an amount of funding, and distribute it based on a specific method, and then to pay the management fee for 2 months. I think that's what I heard, that's what I
Yeah, I
asked.
think, Commissioner Butler, we've approved a budget that included it in there for the whole amount. I think your motion is basically the management fee comes out, and then we follow recommendations of the county manager as far as getting utilities in another name, paying the Pack Place Board back for the expenses they've already incurred, YMI 19,000, and then we're basically 16,000 less than we had at the beginning.
And the YMI you've dealt with when you actually adopted the budget, so that's separate, that was just information.
Okay, is that?
That's not,
That ain't, Commissioner Butler.
There's one, does, that provides an end date, so that at that point in time, as Chairman and others have mentioned about how we all feel about, these different entities. Some at higher levels than others. And, but in very caring fashion going forward, these will be dealt with just as a point of information, if I'm not correct. When we do community funding grants, when we do, whatever they're called, contracts, or, the people will have an opportunity to come and raise money in whatever method they choose to at that point in time.
Yes, this deals with 2015. If they wanted funding in future years, they'd have to apply for it, just like what they have in the past.
So the end date's January 1 is when the check's written, but it's basically through the end of the year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and that's included in the language, right?
It is.
Okay.
The January
I have a-
1st date is just utilities.
Commissioner James.
So I think we've covered the big things in this motion, the utilities, the 180,976, or whatever it is, and the 2 months of facility management to kind of make the past expenses whole. And I was just wondering if I could put in a friendly amendment about, in terms of the dispersant, that the square footage is the fallback, but if all three partners can come to have a different approach, and they're all on the same page, and they come to us together, that would be the way we would disperse it. If that's not possible, we do it with square foot, but we give this partnership an opportunity. If I know there's a lot of good conversations with management entities, and they're working together, so if we could have that flexibility at that amendment, okay.
Okay, so you've made a motion, you've accepted a friendly amendment, so I'm taking that's a second. Okay, so, all right, is that right procedurally? Going face here? Okay,
Don't
all right,
check.
there's been a motion and a second. Is there any, before we hear from the public, is there any questions about what has been proposed here in this motion and this recommendation?
I have one question.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Newman.
Dr. Green, in terms of the utility cost for the facility, how long has the county paid, the cost that we currently pay directly, how long have we been doing that? Oh, quite a while.
Quite a while. Actually, we started it like 2006 or 2007. It was prior to Donna's first numbers in there.
So could you just share a few more thoughts about, you know, I mean, we're gonna talk about, you know, what we're committing to for this current budget year, but obviously, I mean, I think part of this is relevant to, you know, what do we want to do going forward, as well, kind of laying the foundation for that. So, if the county is going to continue to have a role in terms of providing annual operating support for kind of the core functions of, you know, keeping the doors open and you know, that are needed for Pack Place. I mean, what are your thoughts about why you would recommend that we not? I mean, because maybe utilities are continue to be a part of this, whether it's in our name or in someone else's name. I mean, there's going to be this financial need to heat and cool and keep clean this building. So, if that's something that we may be very well continuing to play a financial role in, then I mean, is there not some logic to just keeping that in our name, or what's your reasons for recommending that it be in a different entity's name?
The biggest reason, I think, is when you get the bill, you're a little more conscious about how you use the utilities.
I disagree with that. So and is that the primary reason for this? And I know in real estate management, that's always, you know, it's good for utilities to belong to tenants in a certain sense. So you do kind of feel that you own it, you want to make that number as small as possible. But I guess I just don't want to send the signal that, although we want to encourage a conservation orientation with utilities, that we are necessarily saying this is the last time that we ever, you know, contribute towards helping take care of that piece of the operations. I mean, if we do that, let's make a deliberate decision to do that, but I don't want to kind of send it back to our signal that we're not going to help in that way going forward by shifting it to someone else's name and then saying, hey, that's no longer part of what we would consider helping with.
Yeah, my major reason is the ability to conserve, and I do think when renovations start, there'll be even greater ability to conserve once the art museum is renovated. There was a year that we cared for that building, and there were a lot of opportunities to improve utility usage in the building.
And I feel pretty strongly about the utilities, because I think for someone in Barnersville, for someone in Sandy Mush, I think the level of transparency is much clearer. If we decide we're going to fund this much money, then that's what we do. But as you said, to me, the utilities is very murky, and I think it's better to, and you know, next year we can decide what, but in no way am I saying I don't want to contribute more, but I think it's just for transparency, I think it's much better to get them out of the county's name.
Well, at the same time, I think we're all agreeing that, well, probably on the short part, we are, that the model currently the way it is not working. So that's why this whole thing's being, you know, we all may not agree on this, but I want to say it. You know, we're not sending the signal that there's a check for X, Y, or Z. And I don't think that was your intention when you said that. I think that that next year, if there's, you know, any participation to county, then there's ways to do that, and it's based on vote and based on, you know, how it's presented and who wants to be, you know, sympathetic with that. But we all know that it's not sustainable the way it is right now. So I think that's what these motions are for, and I think it's done in a compassionate way, you know, personally. So
Well, just to follow up on that, so I guess it's sort of, you know, just speaking for myself, and obviously we can't tell future commissions what to do on this stuff, but I mean, my hope would be that for public facilities like this, that we do kind of have an intention to be a long-term partner, you know, in this. That this is not something that, you know, every year people have to wonder, is the county going to be involved or not? I hope that we have a long-term commitment. What exactly that amount is year to year, I agree. People have to ask the tough questions and make sure money's being well spent during every budget cycle. But so I certainly do want to. I mean, I would want to send a message that we do want to encourage ways to find operational efficiencies. If we can figure out ways to bring, you know, to help manage the county's long-term financial commitments to the operations and find ways to bring that number down, just as we do in all of our public facilities. I think we absolutely want to encourage that. But I don't want to send a message that, this is the last year you can kind of count on Buncombe County to be one of the core partners to operate Path Place, in these important public operations that, in a lot of ways, I think actually have been and continue to be a tremendous success. And so, not to say we can't find ways to do it better, but I think there's a lot more going well there than not going well, despite the,
I thought the letter from the partners today was really good.
Commissioner Pryor?
I think we have been a good partner, to Dineworth and to all of them. And, when the city took over, basically they took over because some of the maintenance on the building wasn't taken care of with money that we basically gave them for that part. That's part of the 200 some odd thousand after the 180. So, I want to help them. I know, as far as Diane Wortham, my brother, of course, money goes there every year for dance. And that's just the way that is. But we all have to roll back a little bit, Everybody, you put a car on the lot and you put a price on it for $400,000, but that's the price. And you throw it up on the wall, somebody comes along with $350 and you can make it work, then, if you make money, you go ahead and sell that car. So they have to work as hard to help the county taxpayers, which they're our boss. And we want to help them as much as we possibly can. So, and Brownie's right. They need to look at the issue of these, the numbers as far as the electricity and all that, and see what they can do to back it down. Or, if county staff or Mr. Israel's group can go in there and give them ideas, please, we need to do that part to try to, and that way they can come out with more money. And us, as far as county, I still want to help.
And I want to be clear too that I am very supportive of these. They provide a great benefit to the county. This is in no way saying that we'll pull the levy out from under them. This is we're trying to deal with this model as best we can. And again, I think the motion is made in that spirit.
Okay, any other questions before we hear from public a little bit? We'll revisit, we'll have another period after we hear from public and see if there's any differences here.
No,
Any members of the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir, in the back, then Mayor Michael. Yes, I'm here, not back, third row, I guess.
Chairman Gant, council members, Dr. Green. My name is Hardy Holland. I'm the chair of the Dining Board. And I'm here with my fellow members and partner members. I'm like Pam Myers, the executive director of the Asheville Art Museum stand. I like John Ellis, the executive director of our organization, Dining Museum stand. And unfortunately, Vicki Ballard had other obligations, and she told me to tell you that she's here in spirit. And I was asked by all of the tenants, call them, to come to you tonight in a spirit of cooperation and asked to read to you a letter that you obviously already received. So with your indulgence, I would like to read the letter. We are writing to ask for your support of art and education and science for the people of Buncombe County through your continued commitment to the partners located in what we know as Pack Place Center. Together, we ask for Buncombe County support at the level it has been provided for the fiscal year 2014-2015. We are committed to being excellent stewards of the support of Buncombe County residents. The form of the partnerships in Pack Place Center has changed many times over the last 20 years. The missions of our organizations have not changed. Actually, they've actually expanded. The partners are working closely together to develop the most efficient and effective structure for partnering over the next decades. In a forward-thinking and present way, Buncombe County, the City of Asheville, corporations, foundations, and individuals came together in the late 1980s with an idea to revitalize our community through cultural and educational programming located in the center of our county. The resulting partnerships, attendant collaborations, multiplicity of programs and their economic and educational impact have far surpassed even the most ardent of the founders' ambitions. In the 22 years since the opening of Pack Place Center, bringing together the Asheville Art Museum, the Colburn Earth Science Museum, the Health Adventure, the YMI, and creating the Dinah Worthing Theater, these organizations have served millions of students, teachers, family, and individuals of all ages from every single corner of Buncombe County and Western North Carolina. Support from Buncombe County has been critical to ensuring that services these partners provide are available to all county residents by supporting utilities,
Mr.
custodial.
Hall, in my discretion, I'm going to let you finish the letter since you're speaking for other people. Go ahead.
These organizations serve millions of students, teachers, families, and individuals of all ages from every corner of the county. Support from Buncombe County has been critical to ensuring that the services the partners provide are available to all county residents. By supporting utilities, custodial, and daily building operation, the county has enabled the growth and the strength of our programming capabilities of our organizations. Working together with your support, we know we can continue to provide the excellent services that Buncombe County residents need and cherish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mayor Michael?
Before you start the clock tonight, broach the subject of history.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. If you could, I'm going to give you the same time as the other gentleman. Give about 5 minutes.
When you look at those millions of dollars the city and county put up, keep in mind a 15-member board was appointed, 9 at large throughout the community, and 1 from each member of the organizations that made up Pack Place. So they've been running this building very well for in excess of 20 years, and were it not for the art museum's greed, that would still be in place. The city, by its policies, has kicked out the Colburn. So the fact that we're talking about the Colburn doesn't make any sense. They can't live with what's going on there. For over a year, I have spoken out against the financial support of the Asheville Art Museum by Buncombe County, the City of Asheville, and Buncombe County Tourism Authority. The combined cost to these governmental entities currently stands at approximately $3.75 million. The Asheville Art Museum, with the assistance of Vice Mayor Hunt, Mayor Meinhammer, City Manager Gary Jackson, have plotted to show that Pack Place Board has poorly managed the building, thus requiring that City of Asheville directly lease the Pack Place building to the tenants. The Asheville Art Museum communicated with members of the Asheville City Council and city staff that a direct lease was needed between the city and the art museum in order for the museum to have donors to their capital fund drive. When the truth is that the art museum did not want to be a part of the way the building was managed by the tenants and the community appointed board. The City of Asheville has terminated the lease with Pack Place for the land that the Pack Place building occupies, thus converting the Pack Place building to the ownership of the city. The manner in which the lease was terminated by the city is not legal according to the attorney for Pack Place, thus opening this matter up to a lawsuit sometime within the statute of limitations timeframe. Since the City of Asheville has advertised the fact the building is city property and it will lease directly to the tenants, I see no reason for the county commissioners to fund operation of a city-owned building or capital improvements for the Asheville Art Museum. Realize that the city's $2 million doesn't come into play until 2017, and the city's made no provisions for any operations of that building. They got you, folks. I have provided the City of Asheville, the County Commissioners, and the Tourism Development Authority information that I feel shows the potential the art museum will go bankrupt, pursuing their dream to spend millions of tax and donated dollars on renovating the building.
I'm gonna give you another minute later. You finish.
If the Asheville Art Museum wants to spend themselves into bankruptcy, that's their business, as long as they don't use tax dollars from the city, county, and tourism development authority. This also shows me that there needs to be better oversight of nonprofit corporations that benefit from tax dollars. I'm not against art. I'm against the tactics used by the Asheville Art Museum to acquire tax dollars for their renovation boondoggle, taking actions leading to the ousting of the Colburn Earth Science Center Museum, violating their partnership agreement with Pack Place and the other tenants, and working to seek the demise of Pack Place Education, Arts and Science Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Any other public comment? Mr. Hay?
Right. My name is Edward Hay. I'm chair of the board at Pack Place. And I'd like to start here. For 22 years, Pack Place has been operating under the partnership we discussed with the city and the county and Pack Place. And some remarkable things have happened down there. Millions of people have passed through Pack Place. The partnership worked very, very well. And over the years, we have dealt with problems. We have had partners leave. We have done a number of different things to try to keep going, and each year the county has been there for us to help us out. The county has been steadfast in its support of Pack Place and keeping its promise all these years. And for that, I'm very grateful, and the Pack Place board is very grateful. The city has chosen to go down a different path, and as a result, the reaction is that the county is now doing a funding that's a different nature than what we've done before. I understand that, and we have always seen our number one role to be good stewards of the county's money. When the CRA grant was passed with the proviso that Pack Place was to be the dispersing agent, we took that as an affirmation that the county has trusted us to operate the facility all these years, and they continue to trust us. And so as we have planned for the upcoming year, we took that into account. As of yesterday, there's a change, and that is that the Pack Place will not be on the receiving end of the funds, but instead the partners will do that. I understand, that's okay. We had planned for something much different than that, but we can make different plans. The transition that's going through at Pack Place, however, is going to be difficult because we're taking 22 years of common experience and trying to move it into something different, taking our instructions in part from other people. We need some time to get that done. We have a committee that was working hard on all these transition issues to refigure the management, the administration of the facility, and making good progress, but they're not there yet. And we just need some more time to get that done. I am concerned that as of the change, I appreciate the 2 months, and the 2 months that we've talked about, July and August, responsive to some things that we brought to your attention about what we've been doing for the last couple of months. If we could have some flexibility in that, we have to pass on 22 years worth of duties and responsibilities and all that to the partners now. Now it'll be their responsibility to do that. We have a number of different administrative issues to wind down Pack Place, its organization, including laying off 11 employees. So we have some work to do. I don't know if we can do it in the next week. And if we could have some flexibility on the funding, that would be a big help. And I'd like to just leave that issue open as best we can. The biggest problem that we see from our end in light of the new chairman.
Well, I'll give you another minute. Go ahead.
The biggest problem is that we need to tie together the old administration with the new administration. And we need to, the partners will now, as of yesterday, need to figure out how they're going to manage the building themselves within their own programs. That's not something they know how to do right now. We're going to take some work, and it's going to take more than a week. So that's the big issue, I think, that faces Pack Place. Once again, let me just say that the county's role for 22 years has been important and steadfast, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Mr. Tarkin?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Starkey. I'm the founder and general director of the Asheville Lyric Opera. As I have stated before with the CRA, I state here again in front of the full commission, there is no scenario where Asheville and Buncombe County is proud to have a world-class opera company of its size and its caliber if it wasn't for Pack Place and Dinah Worthing Theater. That being stated, all the investment that has been made, that we have seen the numbers before us, I believe has not only fulfilled the original mission of those organizations that we spoke of, the Health Adventure, the Art Museum, Dinah Worthing Theater, Colburn Earth and Science. It has also facilitated the Asheville Lyric Opera and every other incubated organization that has been able to exist, live, and experience this building. That being said, I would like for us to also understand that the challenges that we are facing, the Pack Place Board is facing, the Dinah Worthing Theater, the Art Museum, the Colburn are facing, these are evidences of our success. These are not evidences of our failure. We have something to argue about. We have something to be challenged with. Thusly, we will certainly understand the value of moving forward. Ed Hay is absolutely correct. Time is necessary. The Asheville Art Museum, the Dinah Worthing Theater, and the Colburn mission have been to be facilitators of their organizations. It has not been for them to try and run a building. That's what the Pack Place Board has been a part of. This is a great challenge and a great success story. Why? Because we are holding everyone accountable. This exercise that we have here, the exercise that the city is holding us, this is an exercise of bringing us all, even the Asheville Lyric Opera, has to be attended to understanding the protocols and the policies of this new building and its organization. So I want you to take into consideration, how do we not only help them right now, but how do we do the right kind of operational assessment, and how do we set a future of new ideas? That's what we are really proud of in this community. There was a new idea for Pack Place to come along 22 years ago. Now it's the time for a new idea of how these organizations have matured and will lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Starkey. Mr. Rice, anybody want to speak after Mr. Rice? Yes, ma'am, Mr. Barr, we know.
I guess me and Mr. Michael Love, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I think Mr. Michael Love and myself are in the minority when we come to this decision. If you go back and look at the videos that we've done over the months, you're going to see who's on first, what's on second, who's on third. Nobody knows what they're doing. They've got, if you call it intelligence, I'm going to call it something else. But when you got this Pack Place Board sitting in there, and you watch these videos, they don't even know who's on first. Not even the leader, not even the lawyer in the room. These decisions are made in the back room, and they're doing it at fast speed. Now, to me, it's another duplicate coming here today looking at you county commissioners trying to make decisions, and your lawyer ain't even up to speed himself. He's still got things to talk to you about. To me, if you're educated, you're smart, you're intelligent, it would show in this room, and it'd show at Pack Place Board. It's a shame for me as a citizen to sit and see people that can't make a decision because they're not informed. Now, Pack Place Board, 20 years ago, I didn't see any numbers of dollars that was put up here for the past 10 years. Not talk about the new that you're presenting, but what was you given back then? This has been a side in the county commission, and I've got it on video 5 years before it ever come to the video here. They were some knockdown, drag out things. I'm not saying this is a bad thing for the art and the theater and all this. I'm for education. But times have changed. There are things being done differently. We've got a science school now over at Buncombe County. things are being done different than what they used to be done. We're not thinking out of the box. When the city takes a fight on for the taxpayers to have to foot the bill, something is awry about what the city is wanting. This property is no different than the county property. It needs to be turned back over to the county taxpayers and get the money and quit putting the burden on the taxpayers to pay the bill. The nonprofit is putting the taxpayer at risk. They're putting our old people and everyone else, our young people, at risk to even be able to live here in order to get a fine, fancy, beautiful something on the corner of Pack Square. My question is this: has it really been thought out? We're living in a very small town, a very small corner, and what is the population going to be and what's going to happen on down the road? I don't think yous have investigated it.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am, Ms. McGuire. Anybody want to speak after Ms. McGuire? Mr. Ellis?
Good evening, and thank you, Commissioners. I'm Kim McGuire, and I just wanted to take a moment to remember my father, Roger McGuire, who was the founder and had the dream of starting Pack Place. And it's been a long road since 1992. Bob Deutsch mentioned it. I think possibly being on the early board and other folks here have been through a lot of these challenging times. Collaboration is hard. It was hard at the beginning. It's continued to be hard. But a lot of great things have come out of this, as has been referred to. The goal of Pack Place, when it began, that goal has been achieved. And the goal of catalyzing and revitalizing a dormant downtown and establishing arts and culture and education as the centerpieces of our community, that has happened, and that's something really to celebrate. There are different ways to view the change that is before us, and the way that I like to think about it is that this is an evolution of Pack Place, and it is showing that there's positive growth for our community, for our residents, and for our visitors. So I just want to say thank you to you all for being there from the start and through the hard times and the good times, and that it's much appreciated, and it's going to be a bright future for Pack Place. Thanks in large part to you. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, anybody want to speak after Mr.
I would add that I'm a proud member of the Asheville Art Museum Board.
Anybody want to speak after Mr. Ellis? Yes, sir. Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is John Ellis. I'm Managing Director of the Diamond Movie Theater at Pack Place. And these have been kind of interesting, challenging times. I kind of like the good report section a bit earlier, and I know we're going to be there someday. And I want to thank the county and the city for this long-term relationship of local government and nonprofits, of local government in helping create a facility, helping maintain and operate that facility, and then letting the tenants, the nonprofits in it, make it come alive for the benefit of the city, from its initial purpose, from downtown revitalization, to what it is now, one of the most active cultural centers in the state and of Western North Carolina. So I want to thank you for that continued support. Transition is tough. Transition is tough. We do have 22 years of city operations to unravel. And so I do echo the thought, this is going to take some time. We are doing the best we can to make it happen as quickly as it can, but we are not, whereas in the past we have been devoted to our own organizations and putting on the presentations that we do, we are now assuming this new role of building management and working that out. And this will take some time, and it will consume a bit of this. So again, I just wanted to thank you for your past support. I want to thank you tremendously for this continued support that you've shown over these past few months and the last 24 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Yes, sir. Anybody want to speak? Any other comments?
Hi, my name is David Leglise, and I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Asheville Art Museum. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you all for your support today and your continued support. I've been pretty intimately involved with some of the other members here in terms of lease negotiations with the city, and also in terms of the new process moving forward. And I think it's really critical at this juncture that the county continue to support us in Pack Place, and also that they continue to support us in the future. These organizations here in the county are centrally located, and very, very important to the entire community of Buncombe County, and not just for the city of Asheville, and not just for a few elite people. It really does cross all sectors. I'm a parent of young children, and my daughter was on the stage last spring for her first ballet recital. My son goes to the museum and plays in the play space. He's a gem nut, so he wants to go down to Colbert and look around the gems. It really is a community organization, I think, that touches a lot of different aspects of all of our lives. And I just want to say also, we are very, very committed moving forward to being fiscally responsive. A lot of the members of our board on the Asheville Art Museum and a lot of the members of the other boards involved are business owners in Asheville. We are taxpayers, and we see our role as being good stewards of taxpayer money. And we want to work hard to get that done moving forward. And I think that you guys have done a tremendous job and should be proud of the commitment you made over the last 20 years, and hopefully it will continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Any other members of the public who should be heard on the Pack Place allocation question for us? All right, if none, we'll close that out. We've got a motion, a second. Any other commissioner, based on our comments, wish to be heard on what we're going to do next? Sir.
I'd like to address the issue of taxpayers. We do try to be very careful with tax dollars and do our very best with those. But there are many, many people who support these institutions, the Art Museum, Diana Wortham and Colburn, who are also taxpayers and have every expectation to think that we would invest those tax dollars in these ongoing efforts of the Asheville Lyrical Opera, the Asheville Art Museum, and Diana Wortham. And I would like to also thank the Pack Place Board for their past efforts, but it is a new day, and these entities are coming together and hopefully moving on to a better place. And it is a testament that Pack Place has survived all these years, and it will continue to survive and flourish. But I'd also like to point out the importance of these, whether you visit the Art Museum or whether you are at a lyrical opera or any other venue at the Diana Wortham, or some of this general venues and activities that happen at Pack Place. You are benefiting by these. This board has been very active in supporting schools. We've supported 4 new schools. We've been very aggressive in recruiting new industry. And we've also, in this process, looked toward creating a better quality of life in Buncombe County. And part of that quality of life is these institutions, and will continue to be part of that quality. We cannot attract new visitors, businesses, and people to locate here. We need all of those. And that's why I vigorously support the Art Museum, the Lyrical Opera, and also Diana Wortham, because they are a vital part of making our community whole, and I just want to put my support behind this.
Okay. Any other comments? I guess I'd just like to say this, if you put up that screen of the money, it is an evolution. I like what Ms. McGuire said. It's an evolution, and we've got to really look at it that way. From the beginning, every nickel of the county money went in there to help the nonprofits. And the structure was to go through Pack Place Board. The structure. Can you get that money part up there? That's a point I want to make sure we get on the record here. And that's what it is today. It's the same thing. We want to make sure that Diane Wortham, YMI, Art Museum, be the best they can be, because we've been told by all these people that Commissioner King's talking about, that businesses, the people that are economic engine in the downtown area and outside the downtown area, want these, we want to support them, it makes us a better place to live. We get that. We're going to support you. The problem and the heartburn I've had is the numbers. You know, the whole thing was set up to help the nonprofits. We're going to put approximately the same amount of money. And now we have the county of Buncombe, and for 18 years I've supported this, has $9.5 million. You can look at it two ways. You can say that's in a building we don't own. Or you can say, I'm going to say it's for the nonprofits that we've supported under our partnership, whether it's written or not, over the years. And the city has 7.1, and if you look, out of the past 6 years, they put $200,000 in. Now, I think the city's position is Commissioner Newman intimated, is that basically we give you rent free. Well, we help pay for the building. We have more ownership, if you look at that, the number there, than the city does. Now, it's not a competition, because again, the focus has to be on the nonprofits. But that bothers me. That bothers me, and I think Commissioner Newman, good point. They paid it off, that's what they agreed to do. And as of 2009 on, they are still in compliance with what the understanding was. As we evolve, that's part of the evolution in my mind. Part of the evolution is the Pack Place Board, how these folks have worked hard to make it happen. Part of the evolution is the decision of the Health Adventure to go out and basically crash and burn. Part of the decision is going to be what Coburn's going to do. Part of the decision is going to be, of course, the Art Museum has we'll see where we come out with TDA next month about how that's going to work as far as the funding part of that. Diane Wortham, we talk a lot with all of you. So we want to see you work together. We want to see this thing work and evolve in a way that makes sense for you, but doesn't run any of you out of business. And that's the heartburn I have about this whole thing. We've nurtured you to $9.5 million over the past 22 years. And we want to see, obviously we didn't do that for any reason other than to see you succeed. So we want you to succeed. I'm going to support this. Next year, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have an election in between. We don't know who's going to be sitting up here. But I think everyone wants to support you. But for your part, work hard to figure out the evolution that Ms. McGuire talked about. Because it'll make it much easier to make decisions here. Because right now you've got a line item. Because the city has dissolved the partnership, there's no line item for you anymore. And so we're going to have to, we'll approach it differently by necessity next year. Don't know what will happen, but please work together. Diane Wortham, Art Museum, Coburn, work together. Pack Place Board, you got to figure out where you fit in here. But we also have to be stewards of the money, and everybody here believes in that too. I think we've been good partners. We have done everything we said we were going to do, and it's just we've got to move on today. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have any comments?
I would.
Yes, ma'am.
I would feel very, very, very remiss if we did not celebrate the creators of Pack Place Board. We weren't a part of the city we weren't a part of the city's decision to change this, but, without the visionaries that started this Pack Place Board, we wouldn't be here now. So I'd be very, very remiss, and, those folks need to be celebrated, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here now.
Any other comments?
I've watched things happen over a few years too, and this is all good. But back when Mayor Worley and the city decided to take the water deal away, Buncombe County had just spent $3 million on McCormick Field. The county surrendered all the parks back to the city. The city did not pay the county back for that $3 million, so a 10-year deal for $310,000 the county paid to cover McCormick Field. So, David, you're right. We help pay for the building. Now the city's going to have to step up and help us in taking care of the properties. I don't mind putting our part in, but both entities are going to have to step up. Now, that's the way I look at it. Thank you.
And maybe just following up on that, sort of at this point, Steve, I mean, I've seen some of the information, and there's a lot of great information in the packet tonight. Maybe just one other kind of piece of information that may be useful. I think there have been some, as part of this discussion and the kind of future roles, dialogue that's been going on, I mean, I think there are some estimates of sort of, for a facility of this square footage, you know, what are the annualized capital maintenance costs estimated to be to take care of it for, you know, decades to come. And so maybe it's just a follow-up piece of information if we could have that circulated as well, because the tenants are being asked to contribute a specific amount to that. But I do believe it's in the big scheme of things, there's a much bigger piece of that the city is financially clearly stating is their responsibility. I think, and so maybe if there's still some, you know, one of the questions is what realistically, what is the financial role they will play in it going forward? Let's share that information, because I think it's substantial. In addition to the, again, you know, what's not shown in that is the data that we just looked at is an additional $2 million that the city council has committed to this property. So, I mean, actually, if you count all of the contributions, including that, in the last several years, the city's committed more than the county. So, I'm proud of the role we're playing, but, you know, there's, the city is obviously very committed to the future of this property as well, and let's just get all the information out about what they've done to date and what they will do in the future.
And, Madam Manager, what is the county committed to the art museum? $500,000 right now today.
So we're in the game, and by 217, we're probably going to have close to that much if people keep voting for 250. So, you know, it'd be $1 million in 2 years. So, you know, it goes back to the same thing. If we have that much in the game, then, you know, city, I think we got to get it on equal terms, because, you know, they're not over here paying for this property, and we have helped pay for that property. So let's give it an level playing field. They've asked these people to take care of the maintenance, and we're going to have to help with everything else. So.
Mr. Chen?
I would also just remind everybody that a third of the taxpayers of Buncombe County reside in the city of Asheville, thus are paying for contributing happily to both entities. So I think as soon as we all really do what Pack Place is doing and grow into the future, we have seen some less than high moments at that podium. And I, for one, am happy this day has come and it will go, and we can wake up tomorrow morning with a new opportunity to go forward. And I hope we can all see a new day, because clearly, you know, kind of retreading these old arguments is not getting us anywhere, except for just making everybody feel that about a community that we love, and by good work that's happening here. So let's go forward together, and let's celebrate all the problems that we have. I like how you put that, David, in terms of like the challenges we have now are a product of great success. So I, for one, am ready to let go of all the angst that I've had, that I've heard, you know, horrible things being said about people that I respect and care about. I'm going to let it go. And I hope everyone in this room will as well. And let's go forward as a community and think about arts, education, and science, and new possibilities.
Very good. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion by Vice Chair Frost, as far as the funding, which would be to take out the management fee of approximately $50,000, $40,000, and to fund within $16,000 of the CRA request, or CRA recommendation.
Can't hear.
Let's restate it so it's good for the record.
It's to change the utilities and make those funds available to the organization that takes utilities into their name. It's to fund the 180,969, and split it based on the square footage, unless the partners come with a better solution that they all agree to.
Commissioner
And then
James.
to get an invoice from them for the 2 months of management expenses they've already incurred.
Everybody understand? I'll call the question. Sharon, I'll call the question. Any other, okay, I will take a question. Go ahead. I'm gonna reverse myself. Go ahead.
I just want to go what Dr. Green said. Could we ask that the group involved is predominantly Diane Worthing and Art Museum, and also the Asheville Lyrical Opera? They're not a tenant, but they certainly have a lot of skin in this game to come back and give us an update on this.
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that. Okay, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then the motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We have taken the Fairview Fire Department off our agenda, so now we're on board appointments. The Historic Resources Commission, we have one vacancy. I'd ask the clerk to poll the, I won't say jury, the commission.
Amanda Warren.
Amanda Warren.
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 Amanda Warren's appointed. Asheville Buncombe Community Relations Council, 2 candidates. Let's do likewise. Other side. Oh, 2 vacancies, 2 candidates. Is there a nomination to accept Ms. Wade and Ms. Ingram? Motion by Vice Chair. Is there any further discussion, any further applicants, any further nominations? If not, all those in favor of appointing Ms. Wade and Ms. Ingram to the Asheville Buncombe Community Relations Council, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we are appointed those 2 individuals. Announcements, the next regular meeting of this board will be September 2, beginning at 4:30 in room 326 at 200 Cod Street, downtown Asheville. Commission meetings can be seen on BC TV Charter Cable Channel 192, ATT Uverse Channel 99, and live BC TV Channel 192 or buncombecounty.org. During the meetings are online anytime, buncombecounty.org. Mr. Attorney, I think you indicated we needed to have a closed session. What's the purpose?
Yes, sir, it's for economic development.
Okay, and we expect any action when we return?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into closed session with the understanding we will not be taking action when we re-adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Belcher, is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Frost. Any discussion? All those in favor of going to closed session, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're in closed session.